So you saw my very clumsy introduction to security as So it's called a segue. It's very clever. It's what moderators do, and I'm particularly good at it. So that's why we ended up talking about security, because I knew you were going to come out and you were going to make us feel better about the situation.
Hopefully.
So let's begin by just explaining why it is you're here today, because actually it's not a random choice, but actually you have some pretty big news today. So please share with the audience why you're here today.
Thank you, David. So, well, thank you for inviting me. Indeed, we are here today to share what we have launched with La Poste, the French post office, in cooperation with Docapos, which is a fully owned subsidiary of La Poste, which is a new version of the La Poste digital identity app, which is to be found on your smartphone, and which, for the first time in France, offers an intermediate level of security for authentication. And this application can be used, obviously, to access to the different services offered by La Poste, but also as an identity mechanism to be authenticated and use different various service providers across France.
So let's just so to people like me, this is really big news, because the idea of having interoperable digital identities that work across different industries, but with this strong underpinning of La Poste, to me, that's a big deal. So we just need to unpick for the audience what's going on here, because there was already a La Poste digital ID, right?
Yeah, to make it simple, the motto could be identify once, authenticate everywhere. So to speak, in the sense that today we think, first of all, this is a very important usage of leverage of La Poste positioning today, because La Poste has a lot of customers in France, in particular in certain numbers of digital services. They are trusted. This is a brand which is trusted, and therefore the idea of La Poste is to use their brand and their network of post offices and postmen and women across the French territory to be able to do this, let's say, enrollment in order to sell to third parties that strong identity. Okay, and that's the first time in France that we get this so-called intermediate level certified by ANSSI. Okay, and that can be used, by the way, across Europe, not only in France.
So, I just want to dig down a little bit more into the technology before we move on to the uses. So, the crucial point there about this interoperability comes through European standards.
Yeah.
So what is different about this identity from the previous version?
The fact that this is, when we refer to European standard, here we need to refer to eIDAS. And you know that within eIDAS you have 3 levels. Level 1, which is the entry range, if I may say. Level 2, which is this mid-level kind of security. So it's a 2-factor authentication. And the level 3, which is very strong. And in France today you have only ALICEM, which is at that level. But ALICEM is limited to people having a passport and a Samsung mobile phones. The goal of La Poste is to cover something like 80% of the use cases, requiring this famous eIDAS level 2 that can be used by anybody who wants to make sure that this is the right person at the other end of the smartphone who is requiring for service.
So just to make it clear to me, so eIDAS is the European standard for interoperable digital identities for use in public services.
Yes.
But it's used in other places as well. And so, for example, in the UK, when I log in to do my taxes in the UK, I could log in using an eIDAS identity. I mean, not for much longer, presumably, but until tomorrow, perhaps. So when I can use an eIDAS identity. Up until now, there's only been one, what they call notified eIDAS identity, which was in Germany. So this is a big thing for France.
Yeah, actually, different countries in Europe, in Belgium, in the UK, as you said, in Germany, in Portugal have already this kind of level of authentication, whether using their digital identity card, so a document issued by the government with an electronic version of it, or a mobile app. In France, this was a long overdue to finally get this level of security on a mainstream application used by everyone. Because, I mean, everyone, obviously you need a smartphone.
Everyone with a smartphone, but that is everyone.
Yeah, almost everyone. Yeah.
So just explain to people what the customer journey is. So I download the app, I want to get the strong digital identity, what do I do?
Okay, first of all,
by the way, they can do this from today, right?
Yes, yeah. It's open today. So first of all, you need to scan your ID card or your passport, and you scan it and you upload it to the La Poste.
See, he's going to go and do it right now. It's very successful sales.
Yeah. So you go and upload your identity card by taking a picture of it to the La Poste website. So this is Identité numérique La Poste.
And the system detects if it's a fake passport.
So this is, by the way, what Thales Gemalto is doing.
Yeah,
we are checking the validity of the document. And with this upload, you get a sort of number. With that number, you go to a branch of La Poste, or you receive the postman or the postwoman at home.
They come to your.
They come
house?
to you, yeah, because they come to. Yeah, they can come to you, and they are, let's say, certified to check your identity, checking your face and your document.
That's cool.
Yeah. So this is the process. That's the second step of the enrollment. So either at home or at the post office, and then you need to download the La Poste app on your mobile phone. And thanks to the certification, let's say the ID verification from the post employee, La Poste employee, you receive a full identity mechanism. Your identity is declared valid in the backend of La Poste, managed by DocaPost, and in your app on your mobile phone. From now onwards, you need to create your own PIN code. And with that, every single service, and you can, by the way, use France Connect as a portal as well, if you wish. But by having this identity mechanism secured both in the backend and in your mobile phone, you can access and enroll to any service providers who requires this level of security.
So La Poste is providing both the distribution mechanism and the trusted brand that's necessary to get this thing.
Yeah. The very important point that I would like to say also is that since as soon as you do that, you don't have any, if you want to enroll today to BlaBlaCar, to Booking.com and so on, at some point you need to do this enrollment. And therefore you need to upload your ID documents once, twice, 10 times. And this is a bit uncomfortable, I may say, with citizens, for people. Now, with this idea is the fact that once you've done that with La Poste, you don't need to do that anymore, any further. Therefore, your ID cards, your ID documents are not spread across data centers all over the world, with your true document, which is also a very strong value proposition.
No, it's a very big because checking the documents and so on is the complicated and expensive part of this. So, and there's an asymmetry here because obviously that's complicated and expensive. Once you've done it, the cryptography, digital signatures and so on are inexpensive. I mean, once that key is there. Yeah. So, and in France, there are 10,000 post offices or something?
Yeah, it's a certain number of branches, and the idea of La Poste is clearly to leverage and maintain the proximity and somewhat use their employees.
So this has created a convenient and cost-effective infrastructure for everybody in France, effectively everybody in France, to get a strong digital identity. Okay, yeah. So now the second part, that was my first question. So that whole part, that's my first question, how does it work? So my second question is, why? Why would somebody want one of these digital identities? What are they going to do with it when they get it?
Well, because today more and more exchanges are done over the internet, or the mobile internet, as you know, and the missing point most of the time is the trust. And this is very important that you are trusted as soon as you enroll a service, because some services, if you enroll for a car sharing service, you don't want the car to disappear overnight. And therefore, you need to have a very strong proof of identity as soon as you enroll a new customer. So this is enabling a lot of services to minimize their cost of ID verification by using a third party, in that case La Poste, which has been stamped by the authorities like ANSSI or equivalent authorities in Europe to do the service. So it reduces the cost of security while reinforcing the trust in the exchanges between people and service providers.
And I think for people who work in the big financial institutions, they understand how big these costs are. So in terms of reducing the overall cost of financial intermediation in the economy, this is a significant step.
Yep.
We can't reduce the cost of transactions any further. Technology has already done that. What we have to do is reduce the cost of KYC, AML, CTFP. Yeah. So, and also for fintechs in the audience, the onboarding was a significant barrier to new businesses. So this isn't just a way of cutting costs, I think, for the existing. This is also a way of generating more competition in this space. Yeah. Because fintechs will find this easier to take up.
Yeah, and for example, the bank regulator in France called ACPR, Autorité de contrôle prudentiel, is validating that scheme to enroll a banking customer over the internet, right? So because this is strong enough. And this is indeed enabling a lot of service providers, including in the banking industry, to perform a KYC, which is stamped, which is approved, and this is very efficient. Indeed, opening up many opportunities.
But it's not just for onboarding. There are other use cases for the identity.
Yeah, it's
because we live in the world of like signatures.
Actually, it's you need to enroll. I mean, I'm referring a lot to onboarding, to enrollment. This is because this is usually the most painful step, right? Yeah. Obviously, once you are enrolled, once you are onboarded and you have your app, whatever the service providers, you need from time to time to perform some strong authentication, and indeed that application can be used also for authentication. But the enrollment is something which is to be strong, done properly once, so that you are comfortable with the person you are dealing with.
Well, yeah, because so yesterday I went to the Post stand in the exhibition hall to see the range of, and they already have quite a wide range of document signing and things like that. They already have the services. The problem was getting the digital identities out to people.
Yes.
And I think that's why this is so significant, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And usually you have three main category of players capable of doing so because they command some level of trust vis-à-vis their customers, or let's say the public opinion. You have the governments, and you have a lot of governments in Europe who are already providing this kind of scheme. Okay, the French government is doing that through LSM, but again, this is limited due to the fact that you need to have a passport and a Samsung mobile phone. You have also the mobile operators. Right, La Poste for me is in the banking category, and for example, we are working with banks, national banks in Belgium. We are behind It's Me, which is providing exactly the same thing. But again, this is the level of trust which is important. Okay, and this is why banks, governments, telcos are usually the one providing this kind of services to third party.
So if I can just ask you the hard question to finish. So to people like me, Gemalto is a security company because my work with you has always been for chips and smart cards and so on. So in my head, Gemalto is a security company. But this is on mobile phones. So what do you do to make it secure on the mobile phone? Well, to go to the question from the last panel, what do you do to make us feel safe?
But you have to understand that Gemalto is coming from the smart card industry, so we are used to embed with a lot of security the key or the keys into a chip. Now the usage doesn't change, the form factor is changing. So what we are doing today is we are working with mobile network operators, with banks, with people like La Poste, with mobile phone makers, in order to use other form factors, but to still do these very important things, which is to protect the key into the device. And this is how we are helping Apple Pay to onboard, in Japan. This is how we are working with Samsung Pay and so on. So But the goal is always the same. Work on the right combination between hardware and software to protect the keys within the device. We are also working on software development kits which are very secure to be loaded onto the device. We are working on obfuscation mechanism. So this is where we bring our security expertise onto the device.
And I hope everybody takes on board just how important and how different it's going to be. At this event last year, the Prime Minister of Belgium said he said, there is no digital society without digital identity. And I think this is a significant step forward to a digital society. So thank you very much for coming and answering the questions, Philippe.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody will go and try it out right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.